For this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use a templated page, make a copy of it, and create a customized page that you could use for different sort of activities your students may participate in throughout the day. For some of my students, I've created pages that allow them to participate in the school coffee program. For other students, they may need a page that gives them details on how to make a sandwich or work in the school store. So there's so many opportunities that your students have the ability to use language in. And by creating a customized template, you can modify how they interact with symbolic language so that the goal of that activity is participation and less building language. And I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the video. So I'm going to start by opening up the group page and opening up the extra page one. This is the templated page button that's on the lower left hand of the symbol array. Now, this is a 60 basic templated page. And while there is a lot of language here that's beneficial, for my purposes, I don't need all of the nouns and the pronouns and all the page linking. I just need the ability to go home, to clear the page, a yes and no, and probably a few other icons that I would keep on this page. In addition, there's 60 symbols here. And while it's beneficial to provide access to a robust language system for our students, when we're talking about language for an activity, it is okay to tailor it down, because the goal in the activity is not that the student is creating multi-symbolic language messages. Really, the goal of the activity is that the student is participating in the activity, and being able to access language and phrases quickly and effectively to be a participator in that activity is really the overall goal. So when I'm working with staff and I'm trying to teach the staff how to implement a system, I always say, think about the goal of the activity. There are times that our goal is to build language, and that's when we want to have access to the 60 symbols and the variety of language, functions of language. But for some activities, such as working in a school store or participating in the coffee delivery program, the goal of the activity is the participation. So when we create a page for those activities, it's going to look differently from a more of a language building sort of page. So I'm going to access menu, the edit page. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this templated page. So it says import copy pages. I'm going to duplicate this page. For this page, I'm going to rename it. We're going to call it Coffee Cart. So now remember, while we have this page, it's going to be sort of in the cloud until I create a button to attach to the page. Then I have access to it. So once I get out of this page, I'm going to need a button to open the page, essentially, because I won't be able to open it any other way. I noticed that I spelled coffee wrong. So if that's the case, I can go right back into menu. I can go to edit page layout, and there's the page name is up there. I can just use my cursor, add an extra E, and I think I'm going to change it from Coffee Cart to Coffee Program. Okay, and now if I go further in underneath edit page, you can see there is rows on page, columns on page. I'm going to arrange this a little differently. But before I start moving things around, before I start modifying the rows and the columns, I'm going to move some of the language that I want to keep towards the center, and I'll demonstrate why. So for example, I do want no and I do want yes. I'm just going to move them into the center. And I think I'm going to leave that as is. I know I want home and I want clear. I want yes and no, and maybe some of the language that's towards the top. But when you adjust the page layout and decrease the rows on the page and the columns, you'll see that language is going to be shifted and you might lose some language as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a page that is like 5 by 5. So 5 rows and 5 columns. And by doing this, and you'll see it says here blank button, you have chosen to reduce the size of this page. This means that most columns will be removed and any buttons that are located will be deleted as well. So I didn't lose everything, but I did lose some of the pictures on the page. So by doing this, now the pictures are bigger on this page, and that allows me to really use the visual aspect of the symbol to help my students participate in the activity. So some of these other symbols that I don't need is I can get rid of the period button. I don't need that. And all I'm doing is touching it, remove the button set from page, and it's just deleting it from this page. I don't need delete word, move button from page. I don't need the S. And we're going to be putting different symbols in this area. So I don't want anyone to worry that we're taking these symbols off. Okay. And in addition, I'm also taking out these pronouns. I don't need these as well. Now I could just modify these symbols, but one thing that I want to always remember is that if I modify and I don't modify the actions of the symbols, then I'm going to be stuck with buttons that are going all over the place. Sometimes it causes more stress than it's worth. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to take these buttons out so that I'm starting with just a plain button without any actions. Okay, I don't need this. I'm going to move this button as well. Okay. Now I'm going to determine the language that I want in this page. So looking at the top, I definitely want a home button. I want a clear button. And I do want please, because I think that please and thank you would be language that my students should have access to, especially if they are working in any sort of school business. I do want yes and no. So remember, I moved it up. So I'm just going to take this yes, put it back in this area. I do always try to somewhat keep the, I guess the organization of the language. I try to keep it as close to the home page as I can. So you'll see that like I'll make sure that that home button is in the upper left hand corner. Yes and no, I'll keep in the lower left hand as well, just because although it's a different size symbol array, it still feeds towards the student's motor memory. So I'm just going to create a new button right here. It's going to say no. I'm going to save it. So there's our no button. So one thing you notice that this has the yes and it has the green around it. The no, I'm going to just edit this a little differently. I'm going to make sure there's bold text. I'm going to make sure that the body color mimics what we had before, which the default is the white. And the border color, I'm assuming, is red. So if I just save that, it looks a little similar to what we had before. I think it might be a different symbol, so I can always go back, select a symbol, and see what no might be the closest in comparison. Okay, so now some of the language that I might need. Oh, I'm going to erase this one as well. some of the language I might be more phrase based, like good morning, how are you today? Or good morning, would you like a cup of coffee? So I can create those phrases and put them on a symbol as well. So for example, I'm going to select this blank button. I'm going to create a new button here. And the label might be good morning. So remember, the button label and the message does not have to be exact. So I can type the button label, good morning, but then hop into the message, good morning. Let's say, welcome to the coffee shop. Okay. And then I can select an image. And there's a lot of language there. So I might have to search a bit to find a symbol that I like that replicates good morning. So, or welcome. I think I like this one. Welcome. Save. So if I select done, now again back to where we were starting before, I am now missing this page and I have to link it so that I can find it again. I'm going to go into groups and I'm going to take this empty button on the top right and I'm going to create a button. So I'm going to edit this button. I'm going to call this coffee shop. I'll let the label be coffee shop, but I don't need it to announce it. I'm going to select an image and I'm just going to select this coffee shop image. I'm going to save it. So now that I have this button created, I can create a navigation to coffee program page. No animation, and I'm going to save it. So if I go to coffee shop, now you can see the starting of my template is there. I noticed that the no that's on the home page is not a face, but it's more of an X. So I'm going to try to find something that looks similar, and it might actually be listed as not. Doing this for a while, I know that that's the symbol for the most part. So back to the language that I need for my coffee card. So it might be good morning. Maybe the next phrase might be coffee, but my message would say, would you like a cup of coffee? And I'm going to include the inflection so that it sounds like a question. And again, I'm going to keep that image as well. So double checking that the action is speech message.
Good morning, welcome to the coffee shop. Good morning, welcome to the coffee shop. Would you like a cup of coffee?
So one thing you noticed is that when I selected the next button, it announced everything that was on the message bar window. So you can do one of two things. You can teach your student to
Good
select
morning,
a button,
welcome to the coffee shop.
then press clear and then press the next button. But if you don't think that your student will, if you feel like that would be something that might be challenging for your student, you can adjust the actions within the button. So for example, coffee shop, when I edit this button, I can adjust these actions. So I will take out the speech action so that the first action it does is clear the display. And then I can have it speech message. And I want to show you the difference in that. So let's say a student is working and he selects,
Good morning,
good
welcome
morning,
to the
welcome to
coffee
the coffee
shop.
shop. Then if he was, the next thing to do was to ask for coffee. He would ask, he selects coffee.
Would you like a cup of coffee?
So within the actions of the coffee button, I made sure that first the display was cleared, then the message was produced. So these are some modifications you can do that will help you modify language for your students. So I also want you to take notice that any of these buttons can be modified. So if I go back into the edit page, let's say I find that these buttons are just a little too small, I can edit this button. Oh, I'm sorry. I can edit the size. So maybe I want the height to be 1, but the width to be 2. So again, it changes the look of this layout. And you can do this based upon the goal of your student. If the goal is to create messages, and this may to create like multi-symbolic messages, this may not be what you want to do. You may not want to create a template. But if the goal is participation, then you want to make sure that your student has access to all the language he needs for the most part, that you can anticipate that he needs in an activity, and he's able to see the symbols, understand the symbols, and activate the symbols quickly and effectively. So I hope that this gives you a bit of an overview of how you can use TouchChat based on activities, how you can modify it so that it meets your needs, and really start thinking about all the different ways your students can interact with language so that they become participants, within the activities of their daily life.